Very good afternoon. If you are not able to listen me carefully, is there any problem? Then you can always speak instantly. So here I am sharing with the syllabus. You can see. So it is very nice that from the previous academic year, that is 2021, honors and minors have been introduced by our SPPU. And for the same, a number of different courses are there. And like previous year, this time also there is huge response for the honors in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So let us see in this semester, that is, this is semester number 5. In this, we are going to learn computational statistics. So it is expected that there will be 4 theory sessions per week and 2 hours per week for the practical session. On the for theory, there will be 30 marks mid-semester examination, whereas there will be 70 marks end sem examination. And as such, total credits for theory are 4, and for lab there is 1 credit. As such, there are 5 credits in this semester. So this will continue, and subsequently you will be learning different papers in every next semester also. So you can see, and accordingly these are the different credits. As such, total credits are going to be 20 as such, and you will be provided with one more additional degree without any extra fees. Just you have to apply for the examination of this, and as long as here syllabus is concerned, so I am going to take care of that also, computational statistics. So do not make any annotation. So I have been using Zoom from many days, and I am very much comfortable with this. It is really wonderful. So I am going to discuss about this, the syllabus. See here, the syllabus is in front of us. Unit number 1 is Introduction to Statistics. Yes, we are going to start with this immediately. What is statistics? Statistical data, categorical, numerical, continuous, univariate and bivariate analysis, mean, median, mode, then geometric mean, harmonic mean. These are measures of central tendency. Standard deviation is measure of dispersion. Data visualization, line, scattered, box plots, histogram, statistical thinking. So this much is here as far as unit number 1 is concerned. So here, after this, I am going to just show you unit number 2 is distribution. So there are really so many, plenty of special, discrete as well as continuous type of probability distributions in statistics. So we'll be learning some of those. Then unit number 3 is hypothesis tests and statistical tests. Unit number 4, statistical methods. Unit number 5, statistical processing. Unit number 6 is statistical modeling. So this much is the syllabus, and now we are going to take care of all the units one after the another. So here, let me share with you this first PPT. Computational statistics. So, what is statistics? Now, see, statistics is a very special branch of mathematics. Already, you are very well aware from with mathematics. You have been learning mathematics from your school days. You have studied M1, M2, and M3 also. Along with that, I know that there are students from all the 6 branches here, and computer IT people have studied another very nice paper, that is discrete mathematics, and accordingly for some another branches, just numerical, maybe numerical methods, optimization techniques, but this is mathematics is really a very wonderful subject. It has so many branches, and statistics is one of those branches. Again, statistics has so many different sub branches. So probability theory, sampling theory, epidemiology, ecology, biostatistics, computational statistics, regression analysis, uh, so many things, sample survey. So I want to say you that more than mathematics, statistics has been related to every core part of education. Maybe this science or technology or management, then medical field, biotechnology field, pharmacy. So we cannot avoid statistics. So this is such a evergreen subject. And what is statistics? Statistics is nothing but science of numbers. Yes, we have to collect data, and the data is to be manipulated. It is to be studied properly with some target in our mind, and we use proper theory of statistics, and accordingly we finally come to some conclusion based on analysis done on the data which we have obtained. So statistics may be defined as collection of, it is that branch of mathematics which deals with the collection of numeric data, proper representation of the same, then manipulations, and hence conclusion or interpretation. Finally, we are moving towards a concrete conclusion. So different scientists have defined the terminology statistics in different ways. So here also we'll see statistics is the science that deals with the collection, analysis, and interpretation of numerical information. Webster defines statistics as classified facts representing the conditions of the people in a state, especially those facts which can be stated in numbers or in any other tabular or classified arrangement. Boyle defines statistics as numerical statements of facts in any department of inquiry placed in relation to each other. A more exhaustive definition is given by Professor Horace Sacritz, which is as follows. Statistics mean aggregates, means collection of facts affected to a marked extent by multiplicity of causes numerically expressed, enumerated, or estimated according to reasonable standards of accuracy, collected in a systematic manner for a predetermined purpose and placed in relation to each other. Yes, initially we have some target in our mind, and accordingly we are collecting the data. That is, there is some mind set in our soul, and accordingly we are working, we are tabulating that data, we are applying proper theory of statistics and finally coming to proper conclusion. So here statistics may be divided into two broad categories as descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Yes. So in descriptive statistics, we are learning different types of data, then measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, moments, skewness, kurtosis, correlation, regression. These are the different parts, preliminary parts, and which are also essential. So this is coming under the head descriptive statistics. So we can see here it deals with the collection of data, its presentation in various forms such as tables, graphs and diagrams, and further finding averages or other measures which would describe the data. For example, industrial statistics, population statistic, trade statistic, etc. Businessmen make use of descriptive statistics in presenting their annual reports, final accounts, and bank statements. Another is inferential statistics. So in this, you have to be little more matured while dealing with inferential statistics. So there is a concept of population, sample, then we have to make use of different probability distributions, and before that we have to frame hypothesis like that. So that is another big theory which is coming under inferential statistics. It deals with techniques used for the analysis of data, making estimates and drawing conclusions from limited information obtained through sampling and testing the reliability of the estimates. For example, suppose we want to have an idea about the percentage of illiterate population of our country. So we know that this population is going to contain billions of entities, and it is very much difficult to study it completely. So we are taking a sample from this population and find the proportion of illiterate individuals in the sample. And with the help of probability, this sample proportion enables us to make some inferences about population proportions. Yes, we dare to make big statements about the entire population based on study on the sample itself. So this belongs to inferential statistics. So in inferential statistics, there is a concept of population, sample, and different relative probability distributions. Okay. So further, levels of measurement in statistics. So this is very much important. So we know data types, there are different types of data types. Broadly, those are divided into two parts, categorical and numerical. So this is something very important I am sharing with all of you. See, categorical means non-numerical. And the second part is numerical. Again, each of these has two subparts. Categorical means descriptive data or non-numerical data is again of two parts, nominal and ordinal. So as the name suggests, nominal So here I want to tell you there is some example as sex of a person. So male, female, transgender. So there is no such hierarchy. Means which is preferred over the another. There is no as such. So this is nominal type of data. Then the second is ordinal. In this C, we can consider the class that you have obtained after your first year of engineering. So you can, there may be first class with distinction, there may be high second class, pass class, ATKT, fail. So we can understand this is also non-numerical data, but S. So we know that distinction is really better than first class is better than second class, and higher second class at the bottom level as compared to the first class and the distinction like that. So there is some hierarchy or order or preferences as the name suggests. So the grades obtained in an examination, this is an example of ordinal type of data. Now let us concentrate on numerical. So you are very well aware about numerical, and we'll try to understand there are two more categories of that numerical. So this is very much in concern with you. Whatever the contents I am going to deliver during every lecture, so believe that it is very much in concern of you people. So even if I know that we are in an online mode, let us just hope that we'll be meeting together as early as possible, and the thing will be very, very nice, because we're trying to learn. Thank God that we have technology created by our humans, intellectual people. Yeah, the creativity, and because of that we are bonding, even though we are at different places, but still we do not have any control. I am not able to understand whether to how much extent you are very much serious, keen toward the lecture which is going on. Some is trying to make some annotation unnecessarily. So it is not the case that I am not going to understand who is making the annotations. So another type is numerical. In this numerical, again, there are two parts, interval and ratio. So the basic difference is that in interval type of scales, there is no any concept of zero. The best example can be temperature in Celsius. And see, we know that yes, we can understand zero temperature. Yes, there can be 0 degree, but there can be minus degree also. So remember, 0 has no much importance given in interval, because the values can be less than 0 also. One more thing, very important point I would like to tell in relation to interval, try to understand. If we have a water boiled at 80 degrees Celsius, and there is water in another pot which is with 40 degrees Celsius temperature. So we cannot say that the temperature of the water in the first bucket is double than the temperature of the water in the second bucket. Okay. Because degree Celsius, this is one measure of temperature. I think degree Celsius and degree Fahrenheit is also another. So if you convert these values into Fahrenheit, so there will be some different figures, and not necessarily that the one will be double of the remaining one. So I think you are able to understand the concept of interval type of scales. And here ratio. So this is with the highest dignity. So we can understand that nominal is at the lowest level. Little superior to nominal is ordinal, and both are non-numerical or category. One level above the ordinal is interval, and at the apex is the ratio scale. Now, there is really the concept of zero. Height, weight, amount in the pocket of a person. So these are all examples of ratio scales. We know, yes, zero has absolutely big meaning in ratio, and there is no concept of negative quantity. There is no concept of negative quantity. Again, if person A has 200 rupees in his pocket and person B has 100 rupees in his pocket, then we can say that person A has twice the amount than person B. Ratio. That's why the name ratio is. Again, height, weight always starts from zero. Minimum theoretical value is zero, and we cannot go below zero. Okay. Now, in statistics, data is broadly classified into the two types as qualitative or non-numerical or categorical, and the second part is numerical or quantitative. The categories are called as scale types or just scales. Okay. Then qualitative data or categorical data represents characteristics, non-numerical. So it can represent things like a person's gender, language, etc. Categorical data can also take on numerical values. Yes, we can say that for female we can give 1, for male 0 symbol, but these do not have any meaning. So you can give the numbering in reverse way also, no problem. Note that these numbers do not have any mathematical sense. Then nominal scale and then ordinal. These are the two types under the categorical. So nominal scale is used for labeling variables into distinct classifications and does not involve a quantitative value or order. Calculations done on these variables will be futile as useless as there is no numerical value of the options. Just think of them as labels and not nominal data that has no order. Responses are merely categorized. Therefore, if we change the order of its values, the meaning does not change. The nominal scale uses categories. So finding the median makes no sense. We can put the items in alphabetical order, but even then, the middle item will have no meaning as median. Yes. So there is no any meaning to talk about median mode. Yes, there can be little importance to mode. The most frequent observation is possible, but there is no any concept as median for such type of data. Nominal scales, political preference, see, independent, Democrat, Republican, like that. Gender, I already told, male, female, transgender, residence, suburbs, city or town. So there is no any preference. Means one is superior to another. There, as such, there is nothing. Type of house, bungalow, duplex, ranch, eye color, blue, green, brown, cell. Type of pet, dog, cat, rodent, fish, bird, like that. Okay. Now Next is ordinal. So there is some preference order, even though this is categorical or non-numerical data. Ordinal scale is defined as a variable measurement scale used to depict the order of variables and not the difference between each of the variables. Now, these scales are generally used for non-mathematical ideas such as satisfaction, happiness, degree of pain, then grade obtained in an exam, and so many. It has discriminating qualities along with an order, but no existence of an origin of scale, and thus the distance between variables cannot be calculated. The ordinal scale classifies according to rank. Yes, rank is important. High school class ranking, first, second, and so on. Then social economic status, working, middle, upper, status at workplace, tournament team rankings, order of product quality, and satisfaction are some of the most common examples of the ordinal scale. This scale not only assigns values to variables but also measures the rank or order of variables such as grades, satisfaction, happiness. Yes. So suppose after the declaration of first year engineering result, there are 7 grades: distinction, first class, higher, second class, pass class, ATKT, year down. These are the 7. So we can say that rank 1 is nothing but distinction, rank 2 is nothing but first class, and as such, lastly, fail means rank 7. So we can give the ranks. So we can assign numerical values to this. The next is interval. Interval and ratio, these are the two subparts under numerical type of data. I have told there is no concept of zero here. Already I have given the examples also. Interval scales are numerical scales in which we know both the order and the exact differences between the values. Now the classic example of an interval scale is Celsius temperature, because the difference between each value is the same. For example, the difference between 60 and 50 degrees is a measurable 10 degrees, as is the difference between 80 degrees and 70 degrees. Interval scales not only tell us about the order, but also about the value between each item. Interval scales are not perfect. Yes, they do not have a true 0 point. With interval data, we can add and subtract, but we cannot multiply or divide. That is the difference. However, due to the absence of absolute zero, you can tell by how much the temperature is higher or lower. And one more thing I want to point out, that you cannot tell in case of interval that suppose 40 degrees and 20 degrees. So 40 degrees is twice than 20 degrees. So this does not have any meaning. Similarly, minus 20 degrees is half as cold as minus 40 degree. No, nothing as such. And the fourth one is the ratio scale. In this ratio scale, I have already discussed there is a concept of true zero. Concept of zero is there. And here, the zero scale, the ratio scale of measurement is the most informative scale. Yes, it is the best among these four. It is an interval scale with the additional property that its zero position indicates the absence of the quantity being measured. Yes, very meaningful sentence. We can think of a ratio scale as the three earlier scales rolled up in one. Like nominal scale, it provides a name or category for each object. The numbers serve as labels. Like ordinal scale, the objects are ordered in terms of ordering of the numbers. And like an interval scale, the same difference at two places on the scale has the same meaning. So this is really a wonderful, meaningful paragraph. All the properties of three previous have been assembled together in this ratio scale. In addition, the same ratio at two places on the scale also carries the same meaning. An example of a ratio scale is the amount of money you have in your pocket right now, rupees 25, rupees 55, and so on. Money is measured on a ratio scale because in addition to having the properties of an interval scale, it has a true zero point. If you have zero money, this implies the absence of money. Since money has a true zero point, it makes sense to say that somebody with rupees 50 has twice as much money as someone with rupees 25. Yes, ratio scales provide a wealth of possibilities when it comes to statistical analysis. These variables can be meaningfully added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided also. Yes. And here, to summarize here, these are the offers and the four categories of the data as nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. The sequence of variables S, the sequence or preference is having meaning in case of ordinal, interval, and ratio. I have already told there is no meaning in case of nominal. Then mode, we know mode. Mode is a measure of central tendency, the most repeated observation in a data. And one beautiful characteristic of mode is that it can be found for non-numerical data also. So mode is the only thing that can be found for each of these four types of scales. Median can be found for ordinal, interval, ratio, and not for nominal, because already I have told in case of nominal there is no preference, means there is no any concept of one is superior to another, so we cannot sort in either ascending or descending order with respect to the quality, so we cannot find median. Now mean means arithmetic mean, and we know, so I'm going to discuss that also thoroughly. So the concept is that we have to add all the observations and the sum is to be divided by the total number of observations in the data, and obviously it can be found for numeric type of data, that is interval and ratio. Yes, we cannot find arithmetic mean for non-numerical data. The difference between variables can be evaluated as for interval and ratio. The same thing is for addition and subtraction of variables. Multiplication and division of variables is possible in case of only ratio and not for the remaining three, as the concept of absolute zero is only related to ratio. We have discussed all these things sufficiently, so I think that you are following me nicely, and here we are halfway. I had started exactly at 4 hours 40 minutes, and I'm going to finish not before 60 minutes. I'll be having every session for at least 60 minutes, and hence today we are going to have 1 hour lecture almost daily, irrespective of whether it is Sunday or holiday. It is not going to matter for us because there are no any telecom companies. We have stopped data consumption during the holidays or Sundays, so we have to take advantage of all these things. So I hope that you are with me. So T2, that is nice. Something is better than nothing. So let us go for some another. So this is another thing, and in this we're moving towards another part, and that is arithmetic. To talk about, if I ask you what is a measure of central tendency, means what is average. So I will be asking someone of you randomly, and I expect that you should be unmuting yourself and discussing with me. So here I'm going to ask Saurabh Pandre. Saurabh Pandre, unmute करायचं. Saurabh Pandre.
Yes, sir.
हा, समजलं का आतापर्यंतचं? आतापर्यंतचं समजलं का?
Yes, sir. Yes.
ओके ओके. त्या काही जास्त टेन्शन घेऊ नका, मी विचारणार नाही काय काय समजलं, काय काय झालं वगैरे. ठीक आहे, फॉर्मॅलिटी असते सांगायची. पण ठीक आहे, आय एम हॅपी दॅट ऍटलीस्ट यू आर आन्सरिंग. Otherwise, no, it is not. Otherwise, when I used to teach to FE classes, then it has been my practice that I am asking anyone at any time, and if the person is not answering, not responding to me, then directly I am. The first thing is that I am going to mark the student as absent, and the second thing I am going to get out of that Google Meet immediately. So I'm not going to do the same thing with you because I believe that you are much more mature than those people, because you were already in that phase. So I'm saying some name familiar to during the last year also. For this course only there were 175 students, and this time also the figure is much more, and definitely it is significantly larger than the figures for the remaining honor and minor courses, and maximum people are from computer. I'm able to see from all the branches. So I will now Shreya Jagtap, I will ask to, I think Shreya is there. Shreya, can you unmute yourself? श्रेया होती मगाशी पण ती गेली बाजूला. ऐश्वर्या काळे, प्लीज. ऐश्वर्या काळे. हा, तुझी ब्रांच कुठली आहे ऐश्वर्या?
मेकॅनिकल सर.
मेकॅनिकल, गुड. मग तू M3 मध्ये शिकली ना मेजर्स ऑफ सेंट्रल टेंडन्सीज. कॅन यू टेल मी द मीनिंग ऑफ सेंट्रल टेंडन्सी? Please tell. She or anyone else can contribute for the same. Please. प्रथमेश सांग. प्रथमेश मोरे.
हॅलो.
बोल.
हा सर, सेंट्रल टेंडन्सी M3 मध्ये शिकल्यानुसार एक असा व्हॅल्यू असते डेटाची, अशी एक मधली व्हॅल्यू असते जी ती काही ना काहीतरी समराइज करते त्या डेटा रिलेटेड.
ओके ओके. आपण काय म्हणतो त्याला? व्हॉट इज इट कॉल्ड एज? ऍव्हरेज म्हणतात त्याला. Average. Measure of central tendency means average. What is meaning of average? What is meaning?
ऍव्हरेज म्हणजे टोटल डेटा समेशन डिवायडेड बाय किती नंबर ऑफ डेट आहे ते.
Okay, okay. So there is not much difference between you people and a common person who is almost illiterate person. So actually, whatever you told, that is called as an arithmetic mean. An arithmetic mean is one of the 5 different measures of central tendency or different averages. So as such, there are 5 averages or there are 5 measures of central tendency. Arithmetic mean, geometric mean, harmonic mean, median, and mode. So we are going to learn these things one after the another, and yes, we are going to learn to the fullest. So as honorable principal and the coordinator of honor and minor, so you can call this is head of the department of honors and minors. The dignified Padurkar sir is very much keen along with honorable principal towards the conduction of all this. So yes, so we are going to be, we also, we as a subject teachers and you as a students, I have to be very much serious about these additional courses also, because with little more efforts you are going to get one more degree that is double whatever was expected. So measures of central tendencies. Let's move further. Measure of central tendency is a single value that attempts to describe a set or data by identifying the central position within that set of data. Yes. So we are always interested in the shortcuts. Now let me tell you one example that suppose 12th examination results are declared, and if some student is asked what is your result, then that student does not say that in English I got 55 marks, in mathematics I got 92 marks, in Hindi I got so much. No, the student says that I got 72% marks. So whatever may be, suppose there are 6 different subjects of 100 marks each, and the student is just saying only one figure instead of 6 values, he is explaining through only one. So we always like to summarize average age of an Indian, average height of adults, average weight. So see, we have enormous data. We say data a particular data set may contain hundreds, thousands, even millions of observations. But with respect to the characteristics, the interest, one single figure is enough to describe the entire data, and that is called as an average. And as such, there are 5 averages. And now one after the another, but we are going to start with arithmetic mean, and you will learn so many corners of this arithmetic mean you would have not thought before in detail. Yes, and that is as per the syllabus. So whatever the lectures, around 8 lectures are expected for every unit, and I am going to try to utilize to the fullest. So this is over and above. See, this degree is over and above. This workload for us is also over and above. Remember this. And hence it is mandatory for each one of you to learn over and above your regular studies. Arithmetic mean, geometric mean, harmonic mean, median, mode. These are the 5 averages or 5 measures of central tendency. After that, there is concept of measures of dispersion also, requisites for an ideal measure of central tendency. So let us try to understand. You would have never thought of all this. What are the categories? What is the criteria so that a particular measure of central tendency will be called as very, very nice and better than the remaining measures of central tendency. It should be reasonably defined. Yes, it should be properly defined. It should be uniquely defined. That is the first condition. And it should be readily comprehensible and easy to calculate. What is meant by that? You should able to understand the concept of beyond that measures of central tendency very much easily. You must understand. Now there is no point in mugging up the formula. You have to understand the meaning. You must understand that formula. Even if you will be seeing something formula, but you must have some feelings about that formula in your mind. So that is very much important, and it must be easy to calculate if possible. The third is it should be based on all the observations in the data. Yes, so we expect, and you'll be wondering why. Why should be this? Yes, I can tell you, median and mode. It is not necessary that median and mode are going to depend on all the observations in the data. We are going to see. So it should be capable of further mathematical or algebraic treatment. Yes, you will understand better while learning further. It should not be affected much by extreme values. Yes, so that is also very much important part. So it is quite possible that in your data set, few observations are exceptional, means either very large or very small in comparison with the remaining observations in the data, and because of that, unnecessarily we are getting some different value of a particular measure of central tendency. So that happens. Next, it should be found for a data for open-end classes also. Now, what are open-end classes? So let me tell you that if there is a one column class interval, then suppose 0 to 10. So this is not open-end, this is closed-end, because we know both upper limit as well as lower limit. But if I say up to 10, up to 10 as such, and if my last is 40 and above, 40 and above. So in this case, 40 and above, I know the lower limit, but I do not know the upper limit. So this is open-end. If either the first or the last is open-end or both are open-end, then there is a problem. Still, as we may face such type of data, and in that situation also, we should be in a position to find out the measure of central tendency for such type of data. It can be found for non-numeric qualitative data. Already we have seen median and mode can be found for non-numeric quantities also. Especially we have seen that table. Okay, and one more, it should be found graphically also. Yes, so along with the calculations using some formula, it is there is one more option to find the same thing graphically, then that is nice. So these are the 8 different criteria by which we can regard a particular central tendency as superior over the remaining. Arithmetic mean. So here, okay, nice. It is the most popular. So if I ask to anyone what is the average, so everybody tells I add all the numbers and the total should be divided by the total number of observations in the data. That is nothing but average. So that is the most common among literate as well as illiterate people. So it is the most common and well-known measure of central tendency. Arithmetic mean is equal to sum of all the values in the data set divided by the number of observations in the data sets. And then there are especially ungrouped data and grouped data. These are the two types. Ungrouped means that is also called as raw data or primary data. if there is some variable of interest and if you want to fit and you are noting the observations and you are writing those observations one after the another on a plain paper, that is nothing but primary data or raw data or data. So x1, x2, x3, xn, so on. So these are n observations where x is the variable of interest. Okay. So in that case, arithmetic mean x bar. X bar is denoted by summation xi. Actually, that we know that this is nothing but x bar. This x bar is nothing but this is x1 plus x2 and so on until xn divided by n. And instead of that, we are using some sigma notation. X is always there. So for the suffix is changing 1, 2. So I use sigma xi from 1 to n divided by n. Again, we are briefing by saying sigma x1. So these are the notations for ungrouped data. Now we are going to derive the formula in case of ungrouped as well as for grouped data. Again, in grouped data, there are two types: discrete data and continuous data. But let us come to the frequency distribution. Suppose here we have xi and fi. Means suppose xi value of the variable and frequency fi. Okay. So xi observation is coming fi number of times. Again, the concept remains the same. Arithmetic mean is nothing but addition of all the observations in the data divided by total number of observations. Means x1 into f1 plus x2 into f2 and so on, xk into fk. There are k number of classes. Okay. So that is summation fi into xi, I running from 1 to k divided by capital N, and we can say summation sigma f into x upon capital N, where capital N is equal to addition of all the frequencies, and that can also be stated as summation of small fi, I running from 1 to k. So as such, here now we are going to solve one problem, and let us see what happens after the same. Yes, I have plenty of stuff with me. Calculate arithmetic mean for the following frequency distribution. Now see, this is a problem. In every problem, I am going to tell you so many corners. Now this is grouped data. This is also called as frequency distribution. See how the name is coming, frequency distribution. Now my next question is, how many observations are there in this data? Is there anyone who will tell me the answer? How many observations are there in this data? See, at the end, I am going to have attendance. Actually, there were 30 plus students, and the students who remain present till the end will be counted as present. Definitely, there are some term of mass, and your attendance is going to play a crucial role in that. Himanshu, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
You have typed in chat box something 6. I did not understand.
Sir, ते सर तुम्ही आता विचारलं होतं ना किती हे आहेत म्हणून.
किती observations आहे म्हणून. Okay. He has answered, and that is not correct. That is not correct. Now see, Baga.
Sir, I think 100. Sir,
Yes.
I think 100.
Yes,
100
100 observations. Absolutely. 100 observations. Yes, correct. I will explain you. Now see, original data set is mass of 10, 0 to 10, 12 students. 12 students, now you say 10 to 20, 20 to 30, that is also there. Now, if there is some student who has scored 40 marks, then in which category the student has to be? in 30 to 40 or 40 to 50 or both? Now the answer is, see, the first class interval is 0 to 10. Now see, there are two different ways of thinking. If 0 is coming in the class interval 0 to 10, 10 must be in the class interval 10 to 20, 20 must be in 20 to 30 as such. So in this sense, the lower limit has been included in the class interval. In the last 50 to 60 years, 50 will be included in this class interval. 60 will be included in 50 to 60. That is the only, 60 is the only exception. Another psychology is that, see, if I am including 30 observation in 20 to 30, means 10 will be included in 0 to 10, 20 will be included in 10 to 20, 30, 20 to 30, 14, 30 to 40, 15, 40 to 50, like that. So 50, 60. So in that case, 10 will be included in 0 to 10 and 0 will also be included in 0 to 10 because 0 is only 1. But the thing is that is your choice. But you have to take care that a particular observation is not to be included in two classes. You suppose 40, you can include in only 30 to 40 or 40 to 50, not in both. So that is the only condition as such. Actually, these are different. Again, you might have seen some class interval like this also. 0 to 9, 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29. Okay, so as such, so there is no any hesitation. Now 20 to 30, 29 will be included in this. 20 will be included. 29 will also be included. So in such a type of class intervals, the lower limit as well as the upper limit, both the values have been included in the same class interval. Both are included. But here we see that if you pick up any lower limit, that value, the lower limit is exactly same as the previous upper limit. That is the problem. That is the problem. So in this case, we know that either the lower limit or the upper limit, only one is included in that class interval. The remaining is not included. That means that is excluded. And as such, these are exclusive type of class intervals. These are exclusive type of class intervals. On the contrary, these are inclusive type of class intervals. Inclusive type of class intervals. Why inclusive? Both lower as well as upper limit are included in the same class interval. But see, suppose if we want to go for further mathematical or statistical analysis, so inclusive type of class intervals are of no use, because for further manipulations, for obtaining future formulae, it is convenient only when we have exclusive type of class interval. Means the upper limit of a particular class interval must be same as the lower limit of the next class interval, like that. And as such, inclusive type of class intervals have to be converted into exclusive type of class intervals by considering the difference. 9 to 10 difference is 1, that is splitted equally. So add 0.5 to 9, then subtract 0.5 from 10, that again it becomes 9.5. So 19.5, then 19.5 to 29.5. 29.5 to 39.5, like that. So the previous can be minus 0.5. As such, now these are exclusive type of class intervals, and that becomes convenient for us for further manipulation. So this is what I had to tell you. And one more thing I would like to tell you, that this is not primary data, this is secondary data, because primary data, raw data, in that directly we are having observations. We will be having 100 observations one after the another on a paper, plain paper. But from that raw data, we have got this presentation. Now you can just imagine, on a plain paper, I have given you 100 different figures which are ranging in the interval 0 to 60. So you will understand nothing. So instead of that, if you have this presentation 0 to 10, 12, 10 to 20, 18, so this is something better. We can visualize that, yes, this is better presentation and I can work further. Okay. But definitely this is secondary data that has been obtained from some primary data. This looks good, absolutely no problem. But can you tell me, it is missing something? It is missing something. Can you tell what we are missing? Please. Are you getting my question? This is not first hand or primary data. This is secondary data. There must be some primary data from which this table is constructed. This is fine. This is better to understand, but we are losing some information. Yes, anyone? Can anyone focus on this my point? Please. Exactly 60 minutes are over. I will solve this problem and then I'm going to stop. Then we'll be having attendance. Is there anyone who can tell? See friends, now I know that there are 100 observations in the range 0 to 60. There is no observation which is less than 0. There is not a single observation more than 60. All the 100 observations are in the range 0 to 60. I also know out of 100 observations. So the first thing is somebody had told there this is the data representing 6 observations. No, there is not 6. This is 100. This is the data representing 100 observations. This is the first thing. And these 100 observations have been distributed into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. K equal to 6 classes. And the frequencies 12, 18, 27, 20, 17, 6. These are the different frequencies of these classes. And the total has to 100. So total number of observations 100. These 100 observations have been divided or scattered into 6 different groups, and hence this is called as a frequency distributed. Yes. So in the process that we know that out of 100 observations, there are 20 observations in the class interval 30 to 40. Now let me tell you that you do not know the exact values of those 20 observations, whether 31, 32, 30. No, we do not know, but we just know, yes, in the range 30 to 40, there are 20 observations. That is the thing. Okay. Now, that is the problem. So we assume whatever the observations are there, suppose this is 30 and this is 40. There are 20. Suppose the first observation is 30, the 20th observation is 40, and remaining 18. These are equispaced. These are equispaced. This is my thinking. And under that assumption, if I take arithmetic mean of these 20 observations, then the arithmetic mean will be 35. And that's why the concept of mid value is there. Similarly, there are 12 observations in the class interval 0 to 10. These are equispaced. These 12 observations are equispaced in the from 0 to 10, and under that assumption, the arithmetic mean of these 12 observations is 5. See, the arithmetic mean of 12 observations is 5. Means 5. What is the total of these 12 observations? That must be 12 into 5, that is 60. What is the total of 18 observations which are in the class interval 10 to 20? So 15 into 18 to 70 as such. So next column is Fi into X. So this is the column. And as such, total is 2800. And after that, we are going to see here arithmetic mean. Arithmetic mean, that is called as X bar. X bar is equal to, we know, summation Fi into Xi. I running from 1 to K divided by capital N. So this is equal to 2800 divided by 100. And that is equal to 28. 28 is the arithmetic mean. So whatever is the unit, maybe mass. So mass generally percent. no, not percent. So this is arithmetic mean of the mass. Okay. If there would have been height, then we would have got 28 centimeters, something like that. So, dear friends, for solving this problem, actually it is given directly. Otherwise, you have to make use of calculator, and then only you can solve. But let me tell you that no necessity to do all these things. We can do this in a very simple way, and for that, see, there is the concept of change of origin and scale. So here I am going to explain that. So yi, I am introducing another variable yi in terms of xi. So I will be saying, see, xi 5, 15, 25, 35, these are 6 values. If there would have been 7 values, so I would have picked up the middle one, yi equal to xi minus that value. Okay. But as here, as 6 values, there is no middle as such. You can pick third or fourth. I am taking third, xi minus 25. Then what will happen? 5 minus 25 will be minus 20, 15 minus 20 minus 10, 0, 10, 20. So there will be difference of 10. So let us divide by 10. I hope you are with me, all are with me. You will understand this new method of, and see very quickly we are going to calculate. We are going to get the same answer, but by another way. So y1, x1 5, 5 minus 25 is minus 20 by 2, 10 is minus 2. Then 15 minus 25 by 10 minus 1. 25 minus 25 by 0. Then 35 minus 25 by 10, 1. 45 minus 25 by this is 2 and this is 3 as such. Okay. So let us concentrate on yi and fi. Just forget xi. Just forget xi. We will be finding y bar. Y bar. Now what is formula for y bar? So that is summation of fi into i. Frequencies are the same. I from 1 to k divided by capital A divided by capital A. So this is equal to, so quickly as compared to the previous, actually we have not calculated. If you would have calculated, then you must have understood the pain in calculation. In comparison with that, fi into yi is quite easy. So 12 into minus 2 is minus 24. 18 into minus 1 is minus 18. And then 27 into 0 is 0. 20 into 1 is 20. Then 17 into 2 is 34. This is very easy as compared to the original. 6 into 3 is 18. And we have to calculate it. Now you can understand here that this minus 18, this cancels with plus 18. Then what is more? Minus 24 and 20, that is minus 4. Minus 4 plus 30, so that is minus 30. If I am correct. If I am correct. बरोबर आहे का बघा? टोटल केलेली बरोबर आहे का मी? fi into xi minus 24 minus 18 0 20 34 18. So 10 किती यायला पाहिजे सांगा मला? Answer
plus 30.
plus 30 na. So fi into yi is 30 and capital N. Okay. So 30 upon 100, that is 0.3. Now we have to find x bar. Now remember, what is the relation between yi and xi? Yi is equal to xi minus 25 divided by 10. Therefore, xi is equal to 10 times yi plus 20. Now I will prove that also tomorrow. X bar So x bar is equal to 10 times y bar plus 25. And therefore, x bar is equal to 10 multiplied by y bar is 0.3 plus 25. And therefore, x bar is equal to 3 plus 25 is 28. So, x bar is 28. We did not find x bar directly. we said yi in terms of xi. So this is called as change of origin and state. So we'll discuss that later on also. So, but now let us have a pause today. I hope you have understood